The big thing from AEW, though, had nothing to do with Wednesday's show. It had to do with what I mentioned earlier, the news of a potential CM Punk Saturday show AEW brand split. And they all kind of go hand in hand. Now, I know you weren't completely aware of the rumors before I had tweeted about it a week ago, but the rumor is that AEW is indeed debuting a new Saturday show. It was something that was discussed, has apparently been greenlit according to credible sources, Andrew Zarian, among other people, saying that they are doing a Saturday show on Saturday nights from 8 to 10. It's going to be preempted a lot, apparently, on TNT. And not only that, but they're doing a brand split, which they have enough people for, but it's a very divisive issue. CM Punk would be the head of that show, and they were already planning. So here's the thing. They're not making a show for CM Punk. That's kind of the misconception here. They're not making the show for Punk, but it does sound like the brand split wasn't something originally that was the idea, but that is now the idea because they might want to separate Punk from the rest of the roster, and they don't want him working with the Elite, so they're going to give him his own little platform. Now, I just think, in a nutshell, before I throw it to you, I mentioned this on Wednesday, I think that's a very dumb, stupid fucking idea, because it's bound to backfire eventually. They're going to have to work together or cross paths at some point. I think having another show, honestly, is an awful idea. It's great that Warner Brothers has a great relationship with AEW, and that means they're not going anywhere. I can't stomach another show on Saturdays alone. I mean, that's just ridiculous. When Rampage already means nothing. I'm glad CM Punk's coming back, don't get me wrong. I'm a Punk mark till the day I die, but I just think that avoiding the issue by having them not confront each other, and I heard they're going to be apologizing to each other soon or having a meeting or something, reportedly, a backstage meeting, that's great. But to not have them interact on the show at all, or just to separate them for the sake of like, all right, we won't have you interact at all because you're not friends, especially with two top talent. I'm sure it's happened in WWE before, but with top talent like that, I just feel like, especially when the locker room is already a civil war backstage from what it sounds like, I feel like that's a really dumb idea.
Yeah, I'm not in favor of like another show. I mean, they already have two on top of the two YouTube shows, on top of Ring of Honor. I mean, if you're really that worried about it and making another show, just put more emphasis to Rampage. I mean, and like you said, I don't think if the point is to split him up from them, I feel like that just sets a terrible precedent. Like, oh, if you don't get along with people, we'll just put you on this one show. Like, so they're eventually going to have to like cross paths, like, which is going to face the same people all the time, and then we'll never get anything new. So. Also, are you going to get another world title, like, what's going to happen with the title and stuff like that? So, I'm against it. I mean, it sounds like you said, I think it's nice they have a good relationship with the network, but I just think it's a terrible idea.
I just don't think it's a good idea to be putting Punk. I mean, listen, I think, if anything, looking at the positives here, aside from the relationship that they apparently have with Warner Brothers, which is great, Warner Brothers Media, I do think Punk coming back is a positive. As far as the on-air product goes, I feel like they need more people like him. And if you're going to make that show must-see, I mean, listen, they put him on the second Rampage, and they did over 1 million viewers. They never did that again. But Rampage, they kind of had a soft brand split early on there with Punk, where he kind of wrestled on Rampage a lot for like the good month or two that he was in AEW. A lot of his matches happened there, and then he just never showed up again because the show lost importance after like 3 months. But I do feel like if anyone's going to be the face of that show, Punk is the right person for that. I just don't know if that's the smartest decision. Do you think, though, and I'm in favor of it if they do it the right way, because WWE just never has, and I'm a big brand split person, do you think doing a brand split, putting the backstage issues aside with Punk, is the right call with as many people as they have? Because I mentioned it before we hit record here, they hire week after week new people, and all these people are talented, they just have no place to put them. And that's even with Ring of Honor. A lot of these people are in Ring of Honor, and there's still not enough TV time, including Rampage and the Dark shows. I'm not opposed to a brand split, so what are your thoughts on it?
I'm not, like, opposed to it per se. I just feel like they already have so much TV. I just don't think it's necessary. And yes, they have a lot of talent, but that's their problem. I mean,
yeah, no, I
don't
agree.
think brand split's going to help. Like I said, they already have 2 shows already, plus the 2 YouTube shows, plus Ring of Honor, plus this new show. Like, how many, like, Tony's going to be, like, in a fucking insane asylum in a week. I mean, how much TV could the guy possibly do? I think technically, yes, because they have so much talent, but they also sign everyone under the sun for no reason and then do nothing with them. That's their own problem. Yeah,
I mean, we just saw Commander become All Elite last night. I think he's a talented guy. I know you're not much of a fan, but it's like, all right, what do you do with them now? I mean, they just signed Jay White. They signed a bunch of other people recently. I don't know, man. I just feel like I love their roster, but I just feel like we barely see most of these people, so a lot of them don't feel important. And they also put the same people on the show most weeks, and then we don't see them for like a good month or two. That's another recurring issue that we've discussed ad nauseum as well.
Yeah, but I just feel like I said, I feel like they just have so much talent in their say of like people that's what happens.
Oh, listen, I'm willing to give it a chance. I think Tony Khan, being a sports guy, a wrestling guy, could do a brand split properly. I think having him book all the shows is really fucking dumb. I don't think he trusts anyone else with that job, which you got to get over it. I know Vince McMahon would oversee everything. I'm not saying he can't oversee everything. I'm not even saying you need writing teams, but I think if he hasn't already, he needs to delegate, okay, whoever's doing this Saturday show, please put up the format and let me just oversee it and I'll make changes when necessary. I think that's what he needs to do. It sounds like he's writing every match for fucking Dark and stuff like that. Maybe I'm wrong, but it sounds like he books everything for Ring of Honor. He like gets a little napkin, books all of his matches for Dark and Elevation. I just think that's really dumb because then he doesn't give enough attention to the shows that actually matter.
So, but the thing is, like, you say you have confidence in them, but they can't even run 2 shows correctly, let alone 3 now. That's the problem I have. It's like, if Rampage was decent, like, okay, but it's like literally a waste of a show.
That's another issue. Rampage should have been that show. I don't think it was, I'll put it this way, it was never going to be a second, like the SmackDown to Dynamite's Raw, being at 10 p.m. on a Friday. That was never going to happen.
Running on a Saturday night, I feel like that's even a worse time slot.
It's better than 10 p.m. on a Friday. I think it's so dumb because it's right after SmackDown. I do not want to watch any more wrestling. I have not watched Rampage live in probably close to a year. I would be more privy to watching 8 to 10 wrestling on, at least me. Again, this is purely my opinion, but I think 8 to 10 is a more primetime slot than 10 p.m. on a Friday. And if it's 2 hours.
It's prime time, but then you're also running against other
I agree.
Sports and stuff like that. I mean,
they're going to get preempted. That's it's not smart. And then they're going to be at 4:00 on Wednesdays at some point. I mean, that's not good.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't think they need another show. I think if they just put enough focus on Rampage, I mean, like I said, the time slot sucks, but depending on how successful it could be, I feel like they sounds like they have a good deal with Warner, so like they could change the time. I feel like they could change the time if they needed to.
No, listen, I agree. I'm just saying that if they were to do a brand split, I give them confidence as far as that goes. I don't think they should have another show. Let me just make that perfectly clear. I don't think it's necessary. They have enough shows as it is. There's enough wrestling out there as it is. More shows is not the problem. More platforms. It's called using your talent properly and trimming the fat. They have like over 100 and something people on their active roster if you go to Wikipedia or their main roster page right now. And you've been through the page before looking at, all right, they can cut this person. And a lot of these people are already in Ring of Honor, and they still have too many people because a lot of these people make dual appearances. That's the problem. It's not like we have a different crew on Fridays or on Rampage. It's a lot of the same people on a lot of the same storylines that aren't very good. That's the problem. So I don't know if running a separate show would be the answer, especially with the Punk, drama and whatnot. I'll say give it a shot, but I'm not saying it's going to work. I do have faith that it might. I'm not saying it's the best idea, though. I just think doing another show is stupid. Put enough... like I said, though, if they're going to do another show, scrap Rampage, but let's face it, they're not going to. Tony Khan has not gotten rid of anything yet in AEW, as far as like, all right, if we're going to debut this show, we need to get rid of this one. That hasn't happened yet. He only adds to what he's already doing. And when you do that, you're kind of... Again, you're putting less attention on everything else, especially when he writes all these shows. I just think that's bound to backfire eventually if it arguably hasn't already.